Truth.
Only one truth.
With consequences.
And that's the truth that I know.
It's time to answer. Bash of the Beach 2000.
Many stories.
Brawl for all.
Definitely having second thoughts.
David Arquette is world champion.
Publicity.
Hear the real story behind the scenes of wrestling's biggest moments. The Montreal Screwjob.
Only one person, and that was me.
Vince Russo's Truth with Consequences. And the first thing I thought of I wanted to do was this match right here. Now, we're going to press play in a second. We're going to watch Okada versus Omega. What at the time Meltzer gave 6 stars for what he thought was the best match of all time. What do you know of this match before we watch it?
Well, I mean, I know, Okada and Omega. I know these guys are internet darlings. Again, based on work rate. So I know these guys are internet darlings. I know these guys can do, no wrong. But I just got to tell you, Matt, like out of the gate, like I'm sitting here and I'm looking at the time and I'm seeing like 56 and a half minutes. And I'm like, but you got to understand something, Matt. And I want everybody to understand this as well. I got to tell you up front, like, bro, I got ADD. So like if it's anything for an hour, like it really, really is difficult for me, bro, even if it's something I want to watch. It's difficult for me. I mean, Matt, when I go to the movie theater, honestly, when a movie comes out, the first thing I look at is how long is the movie. And I swear to God, bro, if it's like 2 hours and 1 minute, as soon as it goes over to that 2 hour mark, I can't go and see it. Because, two things are going to happen. Either I'm not going to be able to sit in my seat or I'm going to fall asleep and it's going to be a waste of my money. So to watch a wrestling match for 1 hour is very difficult for me.
Well, I got to tell you, I'm the exact same way. I am diagnosed with ADD and take medicine for ADD. I think it works great for creative people. I think, and with movies, I know it's a great movie if at the end of it I'm not like, come on, let's get it over with. Let's move this along, people, because we got things to do. But I think I think we might be in for a treat. We're gonna see. And this, of course, is bonus content for our Patreon page. And we're going to start. We're at the 11-second mark of the match. Now, we're not going to tell you where to watch it, but all you have to do is search, and you can find where to watch this match as quickly as I did. Chances are you're younger than me, and you're probably better at the internet than me, so you can find this. So right now we have a graphic. It says Okada versus Omega 1, Wrestle Kingdom 11. And we're at the 11-second mark. Are you ready to get started, Vince?
Yes, I am.
All right. So we're going to go ahead and make sure everything's good. And we are going to press play in 3, 2, 1, play. Now we're getting a shot of the Tokyo Dome. Vince, what do you know of the Tokyo Dome?
Oh no, I know the Tokyo Dome is legendary. From way back in the day. I remember when stars from the United States, used to go over to the Tokyo Dome and perform, and it was a big deal. I don't think people realize like how huge Vader was, over in Japan, and the shows at the Tokyo Dome, Legion of Doom. The Road Warrior, huge over there, and so I know the history of the Tokyo Dome.
Now check this out. This looks to be a little bit up your alley here. It's a little vignette they're showing, a little mini kind of introduction to the character of Kenny Omega, kind of feeding into the foreign menace. And it looks like Terminator 2 that they're doing, isn't it, Vince?
Yeah, it does. And I do. I love this stuff. I love Matt. I love when money is spent and they do things the right way. And I love when it's creative and the time is put in. So, yeah, something like this I think is absolutely great.
Yeah, it's really interesting to watch, and it's not something you think about. Something that goes against, and he's grabbing him by the throat now in this mini movie. Something that goes against, and we'll talk about a lot, is that a lot of these angles don't take place between the matches. They take place during the matches, which is almost in direct contradiction to what you like about wrestling.
Yeah, Matt, say that one more time because the audio on the show was too loud and I wanted to pull it down because I want to make sure everybody hears you. Okay. So just say that one more time for me.
I think the biggest objection you have is that you believe that the narrative of professional wrestling takes place between the matches. Well, in this match, in these kind of matches, it takes place in the match, right?
Right. I've heard that argument a lot. I still don't see it.
So we're looking at Kenny Omega coming out in his Terminator 2 getup. This is for the IWGP Championship, and at this point, Okada is pretty well established, and Omega is becoming one of the best foreign wrestlers of all time. And it's interesting to me about the Tokyo Dome how it doesn't slope up. It's got this huge floor. And when they watch the matches, they don't stand up at all, because if you stand up in front, you can't see it at all. What do you think of the presentation you're seeing? The lights?
Well, now, first of all, like looking at this, I love the presentation. I love the stage. I love the entrance. Money was spent, and that's why, like Matt, I always put over WrestleMania.
Right.
I mean, say what you want about the talent that comes out, but the production values and the way they do it is absolutely incredible. Bro, I just wonder, man. See, like, I don't know this. If people stand up, are they told to sit down?
I'm not sure, man. I think they're just a polite society. I don't know.
I know. Yeah. I know they've always been that way. And, the Japanese clap, I mean, I'm very familiar with it. But, I wonder, like, if a couple of people decide to go against the grain, are they literally told to sit down?
I know when I'm at an event and people stand up in front for too long, they start yelling. Now, look at this backdrop. Let's speak about Omega's entrance a little bit. You couldn't do an entrance like that in America with the gun, right?
No, God, no. I was thinking the same exact thing, man. I always think when I see stuff like that, I always think, well, if Vince Russo did that, no, you absolutely could not do that. Absolutely not.
Now, as we see Okada make his entrance, now Okada at the time is the bigger star in Japan. There's really nothing about Okada or Omega except what you've heard on the internet, right?
Matt, I've seen Okada, but I've seen a lot of guys from Japan. My problem is I'm not seeing enough difference in their style, in the ring to separate them.
Right.
I see a lot of these guys over in Japan doing a lot of the same things, and the problem is when they really don't have a character. To me, it could be Okada or Tahashi or Toshiba or Toyota. Like it could be any of them, because to me now they just work very, very similar.
Do you think that could be maybe a cultural thing? Where it's not something we really can recognize, just like maybe a lot of the Americans might appear to wrestle the same to the Japanese, or do you not see a clear difference?
No, well, Matt, and Matt, I also believe a lot of the Americans are starting to wrestle the same.
That's true.
And I really feel they're kind of falling into the same, presentation. And again, that's my issue. And there's a lack of character. I just feel like I'm seeing a lot of the same.
And so far, we're seeing, I think, a lot of what you like about wrestling. And the entrances, Okada's making his way out with a money being thrown out towards him.
Awesome freaking robe. I mean, he definitely spent money on the wardrobe. The money is cool. The lighting is cool. The production values, the presentation is awesome.
Now, and Okada is a little bit different, I think, in that, a lot of people think he's the greatest wrestler in the world. Well, Meltzer and them think he's the greatest wrestler in the world. He's a little bigger than most Japanese wrestlers. He's got a little different, more powerful wrestling style than the other wrestlers. And he also is a huge star. You can kind of see the star quality right now, can't you?
Well, Matt, was Okada the guy? I believe he was, and I'm so bad with this, and I apologize. Wasn't he in TNA, and he was like my Kato character? Was that Okada?
I'm not sure if that was or not. I will look it up for sure.
Make sure. I mean, I'm almost positive, but I want to make sure before I comment on that, because I'm going to give you a little insight on that, and I'm going to tell you a couple of things on that people don't know, because I believe I worked with Okada.
Well, that would be the greatest story of all time then.
Yeah. And I got a couple of insights on that that I think people would really be interested in.
And if
Now, this referee, I'll tell you right now, this referee is no Rudy Charles. All right, so that's -1.
Rudy Charles is fantastic, isn't he?
Yeah. Oh my God, Rudy Charles. But he's been eating too many elephant ears lately. I keep texting him, telling him he's got to cut down on the elephant ears, Matt.
What do you mean elephant ears?
That's like a pastry delicacy in Evansville, Indiana, and Rudy's eating way too many of them.
And he has a different name in WWE, right?
He has no name in WWE because they don't acknowledge their referees.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so how do I not know this? Okada made his TNA debut in February 2010. He was there to 2011. Was defeated by Jay Lethal in a dark match, and he's taken on some people. Tell me about your experiences.
And this is the stuff that kind of gets buried because this is like the kind of blame Vince stuff. I did a character in TNA with Okada where he kind of played like a Kato, like a Bruce Lee type of character.
Right,
okay.
Right.
And I get criticized. Oh my God, the great Okada. How could you put him in such a role and this, that, and the other thing? The reason I put him in such a role is I did not know a lot about Okada. I did not know a lot about him. I do not watch wrestling from New Japan. I didn't know a lot about him. Didn't know about his reputation. Samoa Joe said to me, bro, behind the scenes in the locker room, freaking Okada is hysterical. This guy's got an unbelievable personality. He's entertaining. Vince, you should really, really do something with that to kind of bring that out. And like I said, I knew nothing about Okada. My bad. And that's why we went kind of with the Kato superhero character. Now, since then, I've heard people interview Okada. And, right away they try to, get to, let Okada bury Vince Russo. And I've heard Okada in interviews saying, no, bro, like I enjoyed my time at TNA because I got to learn about character and getting character. And I learned how important, character is. So where a lot of people right away, oh, my God, Vince Russo had the great Okada. Okada appreciated his time over here and the fact that, maybe it was a little bit more character driven and that, that kind of gave him more of a little diverse background at the time.
Yeah, I wasn't aware he worked with him. And also it must have been if you don't know a lot about a guy, it's hard to work him in. Now, when you're watching this, we're watching the very beginning of the match, and this is kind of a big thing in Japanese wrestling, from what I've seen, is just trying to get the upper hand immediately, and it's semi-realistic. They're going for realism, a little bit of MMA, just trying to get the upper hand at the beginning, which is part of the psychology of the match. When you see good chain wrestling like we saw like a minute ago, is that something you like at all, or is that something you don't really connect with?
That is not realistic to me. Okay, if I am again, Matt, my whole philosophy, my whole psychology, everything is based on reality. That's what everything's based on. And Matt, let me ask you this because I don't know.
Sure.
How much of and these are the things I would need to know. How much of a buildup was there for this match? How much heat was there going into this match? Like, those are the things that are important to me in knowing if a match needs to start hot or not. So has there been a feud? How long has it been going on? Has there been heat going into this?
Well, the anticipation was seeing these two guys wrestle each other. And the heat was built. You said, talking to me at another time, that a lot of the heat nowadays is I hate you, I'm angry at you. This was more of the finally seeing these two guys get together. Yeah. The more of an upstart Kenny Omega against Okada. I will tell you that the attendance was well over the previous year. It's a big building, and they had 26,000 pay around, and for about 35,000 people in the building, and it holds 50, which is they don't typically sell out the Tokyo Dome, but compared to previous Wrestle Kingdoms, it did really well as far as the anticipation, and the heat of the crowd is pretty good.
Yeah. Well, based on what you said from a writer's from a writer's philosophy, from my philosophy, based on what you said and the way this match was built, they should come out and wrestle. This is the way they should, start the match, and it should open up with a feeling out, some chain wrestling, and it should obviously crescendo as the match goes on. So under these circumstances, I think, the way they started this match definitely works.
Now we're seeing a sequence of really Ricky Steamboat-esque arm drags. When this is, of course it's choreographed, of course it's predetermined, of course it's not real, as you say, but there is a difference between this kind of wrestling and, say, the Young Bucks type of, choreographed wrestling. But that's not something you really have a problem with, is it? The choreographed wrestling.
Well, I got to tell you this, man. I hadn't seen the Young Bucks for quite a while, and I happened to tune into New Japan Pro Wrestling. It's on all crazy nights in the middle of the night.
Right.
And I'm always up all crazy times. And if it's on, I'll watch it, to see what's going on. And, man, I got to tell you, I saw a Bucks match recently, and I was pleasantly surprised because they were selling their asses off. And, when I think of Young Bucks, I don't think about them selling. And when I watched this match they ran, and Matt, it was a 6-man tag. I can't tell you who was in the match, but they were selling their asses off. That's kind of my biggest problem in a lot of these matches. Now, you see what I'm saying? Now, Meltzer, I'm looking at something right off the bat where Meltzer gave this 6 stars. Okay, right. Omega just kicked Okada in the stomach, and Okada covered his stomach and literally waited there for Okada to make the next move.
Now,
okay, so like right there, okay, so sure. Bro, that's not perfect. I mean, he was waiting there for Okada to, to do the next thing. That was obvious. That was obvious to me. So like right off the bat, bro, if Meltzer's star rating of a 5 is perfect and this is a 6, bro, that's not perfect. And I mean, if you're rating the overall match, the 1 hour of this match, you got to go back and you got to look at all this stuff, bro. Now, I'm sure when we get to the end, it's going to be nonstop, boom, 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 boom. And I always say this in wrestling: you always remember the last thing you see. Yeah, that's why, at the end of a Raw, at the end of the SmackDown, the last thing you saw was the most important thing. Right. You always remember the last thing you saw, and I'm sure when Meltz is rating this match, by the time they get to that, 50-minute mark, it's going to be on fire. But you got to look at the body of the entire match. And, I'm seeing things here that, are not perfect.
And just to kind of smarten you up, as they say, as to what just happened a minute or two ago, we saw the Young Bucks outside. But previous to that, they both teased their finishers. Omega's finishers, where he puts you on his shoulders and does what he calls a one-winged angel, which is kind of like almost like a powerbomb deal. And Okada's finisher is a variation of Jake Roberts' short arm clothesline, where he wraps the arm around before he clotheslined you. So they teased that, and that's when Omega decided to bail out because it was getting a little too heavy. And he went out and talked to the Young Bucks who were outside, and then they went back in. But as far as, looking at a match like maybe a song or a record album and the pacing of it, can you kind of see why this appeals to people in that sense?
Yeah, but I'll tell you what I see.
Sure.
And I notice this a lot, Matt, with New Japan Wrestling. I've seen enough about it to form an opinion. Here's what I see a lot of, and I see it with everybody, and I see it as part of the pattern, and I don't like it. They do see now. This I don't like. Let me tell you why. This is what I have a problem with. Kenny Omega just got kicked in the face twice 3 minutes ago.
Right.
Now he's back on the offensive. I always say, I swear to God, Matt, and I say this all the time because the freaking kicks to the face have gotten so out of hand. They don't mean anything anymore. They're not realistic. And I have literally suggested this. When you've got these guys at the Performance Center at the WWE, stand them all in the ring and kick them in the face for real. Kick them in the face for one time and let them see what that feels like. If you're in a bar fight, bro, and a guy's standing there and a guy's a, 5th degree black belt and you don't know it, and before you know it, bro, he's kicking you square in the jaw, bro, you ain't getting up. And that's what I mean. Kenny Omega, that's the issue I have. Here he was, 2 kicks to the face, 3 minutes he's on the offensive. No, bro, you wouldn't be on the offensive. But getting back to what I see that I don't like is, bro, there's these high spots, boom, 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 great exchange. And then there's a 5-minute rest period because they've blown themselves up doing so much. So then there's an arm lock. Then there's selling and nothing's going on because they need to gather their breath. Then all of a sudden they get their breath. Boom, we see the exchange again, nonstop. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, now we need to rest again. I see that all the time in these matches. So to me, it's like a stop and go, stop and go, stop and go. Because when they go 1,000%, they cannot keep that pace up throughout the course of a match.
Now, with that, of course, we just saw Okada with a very impressive flying body press over the guardrail. Let me ask you this: I know you're not, a mark for wrestling.
Well, that mark right there, that spot right there, bro.
Yeah.
That was impressive. Like,
right.
to me, when the guy suicide dives through the second rope, I honestly think I could do that.
Right.
I literally.
Right.
At 50, I think I could do that. But you know what that reminds me of? Like, and here's where I'm going to put Okada over. Bro, that reminds me of, there are a couple of times when Reigns backs up
and jumps over the top rope.
That dive over the top. And when I just saw Okada do that over the guardrail, here's what I love about that. When I see stuff like that, Matt, I know I am seeing a purebred, thoroughbred athlete. Right. And that shit blows me away. And when I see somebody like that is this freaking guy, and seeing Okada do that, I know how freaking athletic the guy is.
And seeing them, it's a lot of things I've heard you say about wrestlers don't look like wrestlers and all that. And when you see guys do stuff that you definitely couldn't do and guys on the street couldn't do, it's always impressive. Let me ask you this. I know you're not a mark for wrestling or, a huge fan of, matches and, that structure, but are you a fan of like classics like Steamboat Flair or maybe Michaels and Scott Hall in the ladder match? Are those matches that you could enjoy watching?
Matt, I got to be honest with you, man. There are really, for as many matches I saw, God, man, I can really remember in the palm of my hand where to me, the match was unforgettable, and the match was better than the story, and the match was better than the angle, and the match was the most memorable thing. I can probably remember maybe 5 times in my life when I felt that way.
Was Austin Hart one of those?
I'll be honest with you, Matt, no. No,
really?
The one I go to immediately, and it's the one that I go to all the time, was Steamboat Savage. And I think that had a lot to do with, we had never really seen anything like that before. Right. I think you mentioned another one, Matt. You mentioned Michaels, Scott Hall, a ladder match. I had just started working for the WWE, so I was there for that. I was at WrestleMania 10. We'd never seen nothing like that before. So a lot of times when it was like a first and it was like, holy shit, I will remember those matches.
And for me, that's a big one because I like, if you're going to have a match, you can't rest but for so long. And, despite what I think you said earlier, I think these guys are, really just, there's a lot of nonstop action going on. And you kind of have to be impressed by the athleticism of both of these guys, just the nonstop kind of, almost trying to win a fight type thing going on.
Matt, I never, ever say anything negative or derogatory
about wrestlers.
And about the in-ring. Matt, I say this all the time. Man, bro, I worked during the Attitude Era. The work rate, the dedication those guys put in from bell to bell at the Attitude Era was no different than it is today. That's how wrestlers are, bro. Wrestlers, a lot of wrestlers for the most part, Matt, they're blue collar guys, and they've got pride like nobody I've ever seen. And when they're in that ring, I don't care how many people are in the house, bro, they go. And I could never do that. I would be killed. I am in awe of that. I think it is incredible. And that's one thing I always try to make clear. Effort-wise, these guys put in 150%.
You know, and both of these guys remind me of Ricky Steamboat in a lot of ways. And I got to actually talk to Ricky Steamboat once about that match. And we were just getting an autograph from my kid, and I said, yeah, big fan of WrestleMania 3. And he just lights up and he says, you know what it was about that match? And I go, no, Ricky Steamboat, tell me what it was. And he said it was the finish. It was the small package. It had to win with a small package, or else all the other near falls were meaningless.
And that's rememberable. And that's memorable. Right. I remember that. I mean, I remember that finish. Yes.
And there's and that's to me a great Hurricane Rana by Kenny Omega, because it's not set up forever. It comes kind of out of the blue. And of course, if you see Okada outside the ring and Omega making this gesture, you're going to see one of these dives outside the ring, probably over the top. These dives, as you said, they've become so commonplace. Do you mind them once in a while?
Matt, I swear to God, and I've said this a million times, I have not ever seen. I want to see this first.
Woo! Look at it.
Okay, now that to me, what you see, like, see that. Let me tell you a couple things. What I was about to say is, I have never in my life seen a good suicide dive through the second rope ever.
Right.
Ever.
I agree.
I have never seen a suicide dive where the guy wasn't standing there, waiting to catch the other guy, and he backs him up into the barricade. I mean, they're horrible.
Yeah,
they're absolutely. I don't know how these guys have convinced themselves that looks good. What Omega did just there, now see, that's special. That's different. Not everybody can do that. Man, but again, I would have liked to just see him come over the top. When you add that extra flip in there, right. I go right back to if this were a real fight. Okay, right. we saw Okada earlier fly over that guardrail and connect with Omega. Same thing here. If this were real, Kenny Omega, to me, is not going to put himself in a position where he could be hurt.
Right.
So when you come over that top rope, if you're cross bodying somebody, that's one thing. If you're adding a 360 to it, ooh. Well now you're putting yourself in a position. See, that was sloppy
and dangerous.
Like right there, that would have lost his 6 stars to me. I mean, he missed that. I mean, he obviously missed that. But to me, when you add the acrobatics to it, when you add that, they lose me because it looks unrealistic to me.
Now, by missing, you probably mean that he really kicked him in the head really hard.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. That's exactly what I mean. Now, if I'm looking at that again, and if I'm Dave Meltzer, I'm like, bro, I'm going to give the guy 6 stars for almost killing the other guy.
So speaking of Meltzer, let's get into the stars real quick. Of course, it's a subjective measure. Are you aware of where Dave Meltzer got that star system from?
I had heard about that. Jeff Lane brought that up on our show yesterday, bro. On the
oh, really?
Yeah, he brought it up. As a matter of fact, I got the guy's name written down. Let me see. The guy's name was Norm Dooley.
Right.
And Norm Dooley in 1981. But that's all I know about it. I don't know how it was developed.
And do you know who else came up with him with Mr. Dooley?
Well, Jeff thought that Jeff had mentioned that Mr. Dooley was friends with Cornette.
Right.
He doesn't know if he still is, but he said he was. So with Jeff telling me that and you asking me that question, I would guess Jim Cornette.
Yeah, it's Jim Cornette, and basically it came from you'll like this. It came from TV Guide. Leonard Maltin. Leonard Maltin used to give 4 stars in TV Guide.
Yeah, I remember Leonard Maltin well, absolutely.
Yeah. And also it's a lot like the old Siskel and Ebert 2 thumbs up thing. And, Meltzer took it to the 5 stars, and it's subjective, and people take it too seriously. But
see, that's what I hate, Matt. That's right. What I hate, Matt, right there. Because here's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing Omega's kicking, kneeing Kenny Omega is kneeing Okada to the gut.
Yeah,
He
big time.
needs him three. He needs him 3 times. Okada never covers up. Bro, knee me in the gut one time, I'm covering myself up. The second time, he never covers up. And then without selling, it goes right into an Okada offensive move. I don't buy that shit, bro, because again, my theory is if I'm standing there and a guy knees me in the gut, bro, I am going to be doubled over.
Right.
And I'm not going to go immediately into an offensive move. That's where they lose me, bro. And I understand why people like this shit. I get it. But like I said, when you're from a reality base, you're seeing these things and they're like, no, bro, a guy freaking knees you in the gut. You're doubling up. You're not setting him up for something else a second later.
So a different perspective on this is that, and of course we're watching just another rapid fire sequence by these guys, is that, someone who I respect, who's a wrestling fan, said, I'm really liking Kenny Omega. This was maybe a year ago. I watched the Okada match, and it was unbelievable to me. And I'm a big Kenny. Oh, that's a great move. And it was my 16-year-old son. And so my 16-year-old son, who is the audience you're really trying to get in a lot of ways, is the one who kind of hit me up to a lot of this New Japan stuff. So he is really into it. What do you think appeals to the wrestling fan about this, especially those who aren't that enamored with WWE these days?
Well, it depends on what wrestling fan are you talking about, bro? We have 2 different categories of wrestling fans. People like me, bro, honestly, and I'm going to be cold here, but I'm going to be honest. I mean, it's truth with consequences. Sure. People that are like me are watching this and like, bro, in the back of your mind, you're like, okay, bro, this is a fake fight. Like, we're not believing this. Now, and people say, okay, now we've seen it. Like, now it's going on too long. What's next? Nobody's going to really win or lose this thing. That's what a casual TV viewer is saying. That's what a fan of the Attitude Era is saying. Now, if you are you love in-ring action, bro, it's fight forever. Right. I mean, you want this match to go on forever and forever and forever and forever. And like my whole thing is, bro, the outcome of this match is freaking predetermined. Like, this is a dance. This is a ballet. Like, this is Cirque du Soleil. Like, so like the longer this thing goes on, it's like, bro, it's a work. Like, and now, you're going to be getting into, 30 minutes and 35 and 40. And it's like, okay, bro, like, that's what a casual wrestling fan is saying.
But what of the suspension of disbelief? I mean, what if
there's not suspension of disbelief when you knee somebody in the gut and then he turns around and hits you with something. There is no level of disbelief. There isn't.
So that's the difference to you between
this guy that looked like Okada just took that knee to the face. Yeah. Let's see what happens right now. Think about it. First thing I'm doing if I'm knee to the face is I'm trying to roll out of the ring. That's the first thing I'm doing, man. I'm trying to get out of harm's way. That's what I mean. It's that sophisticated people, bro. Those are the things that they're looking at. Like if I got in a fight and that happened to me, okay, now Okada's getting out of the ring. That's good. That makes sense. That's psychology. He's in trouble. Oh my! I mean, bro, like.
So
we talk about this all the time. I talk about this all the time with wrestlers, bro.
The danger,
and they talk about this all the time. Stevie talks about this all the time. Disco talks about this all the time, bro. This is how Paige's career was ended. When you hit somebody from behind, bro, and you don't see it coming, and you really can't prepare yourself for the impact. Wrestlers, from traditional wrestlers saying, bro, you should never be hit from behind or blindsided when you don't see it coming because you can't brace yourself. You can't prepare yourself for that. You can't prepare yourself. Now, when I see a move like that, bro, here's the difference between me and everybody else, sure. Matt. Is it a great move? Yes. Is it a spectacular move? Yes. Is Kenny Omega a unbelievable athlete? Yes. But when I'm looking at that move, I'm like, bro, don't kill yourself.
Yeah.
Like don't get hurt. You've got to have a long career in this business, bro. You don't want to get hurt. And when they do stuff like that, bro, they increase the odds of getting hurt, them shortening their career, making less money, getting out of the business earlier than they really wanted to. Those are all the things I am not a fan of.
I definitely empathize with that. There's certain moves I see where I'm just like, guys, you don't need to do that. And what we saw that Vince was talking about was a spectacular springboard backflip over the guardrail. And quite honestly, you're totally right about the risk involved. But also,
and Matt, that's the difference between me, and I'm sorry to interrupt you,
Sure.
but that's the difference between me and the Marks. The Marks want these guys to do shit like this.
Right.
The Marks do not care about their
Safety,
livelihood,
right.
their careers, because let's face it, bro, if Kenny Omega breaks his neck, somebody's stepping into Kenny Omega's spot next week.
Right.
And we're going to go on and we're going to talk about that next week. Oh God, I don't agree with that. I care about their well-being. And you know why I do, Matt? Matt, I've seen a lot of wrestlers that can't wrestle anymore. And, bro, they can't support themselves. They're broke.
And
we just saw what happened with Paul Orndorff.
Right.
I don't want that to happen to these guys.
Well, Orndorff was a guy that was my favorite wrestler growing up, and I donated and I put it on Twitter, and you don't want to see it. And what I was about to say about that springboard was that it couldn't have gone any better. As dangerous as it was, it couldn't have landed any safer. But then we saw a move where a Japanese table was placed on Okada, and Omega did a running stomp off of the apron. And, I can see your viewpoint where what good can come out of that. Now we're going for a power bomb.
Not only that, Matt, God, man, these guys just like it, I mean, Matt, when you're playing with a piece of furniture,
right?
Okay, anything can happen. You can't control that piece of furniture. So like when he does something like that to Okada, bro, that furniture has legs.
Right.
Like what if, part of that furniture, literally the impact of that literally, catches Okada's rib cage. I mean, you can't control furniture. Now they can control their moves here and what they do to some extent. When you start adding furniture to the mix, you can't control that shit.
Now, look at all these people just sitting down. Were you aware of Kenny Omega's history with the WWE?
Not really, no, man.
So he went through developmental. He was in Deep South. And I did an interview with Mike Knox. And according to him, he thinks that the training style of Bill DeMott and others kind of chased Omega out and away from WWE. Does that sound like something that's possible where that training style?
Oh, I think so. I mean, I know Bill DeMott and I know guys from that vein. And let's face it, I went to Johnny Rogers School of Wrestling. I know Bubba and Devon with their wrestling academy. Bro, those old school guys, I don't care what year it is and what decade it is, they are going to teach you the way that they were taught. And this is not what they were taught. They were taught, freaking old school. The first thing you had to prove was your toughness, bro. And you were going to be tested. You were going to see how much you could take and you were going to be pushed. And I mean, the first thing they had to determine was, are you a man or a boy?
Right.
That's the first thing, because if you were a boy, you were going home. So, when you got a guy like Bill DeMott who takes wrestling very serious, takes what he did very seriously, I loved having Bill DeMott on my roster. Man, bro, there are a lot of people that don't want to go through that, and especially in this day and age with millennials that bro, they don't want to work for it. They think they've already earned it when they haven't earned anything. And all of a sudden, you're going to be taught discipline when your own parents never taught you discipline. Yeah, bro, you're going to have an issue with that.
But at the same time, though, you say a lot, it's fake fighting. Is that method, the Bill DeMott method, really the best way of getting you the kind of entertainers that you, Vince Russo, would want in the ring? I would argue no.
I see your point, Matt, but I also believe, Matt, I got to tell you something, and here's where it's coming from. And I think that's coming from a much different level than it would came from 20 years ago. Matt, I was at the start of this when the business was rolling over. I think I left TNA in 2012. Matt, I would say definitely my last 5 years at TNA, I saw guys coming through the door that did not look like wrestlers. I would have not had them on my wrestling show. And the minute they walked in that door, they thought they knew more than Vince Russo. And my philosophy was, first of all, you don't know more than Vince Russo. Second of all, you don't have a clue. Third of all, I'm not going to try to convince you that I know more than you. So go out there and do it your way, and you're going to fall flat on your face. That was my philosophy, and that's exactly what I did. It's those types of guys that were going through Bill DeMott. Okay, it wasn't a young Bully Ray who was showing up the first day, respectful and yes sir, no sir. No, it's not that guy, because if it's that guy, they're going to be treated with respect. But when it's the guy that is, 20 years your junior, hasn't achieved nothing in the business, and that first day, this freaking guy's got a chip on his shoulder. He don't know shit. He's going to learn shit, and he's going to learn it the hard way. So that's the type of student that Bill DeMott was training 10 years ago, because that's the same kind of athlete that I was working with at TNA, and it was a totally different animal, and I had to treat those guys totally different.
Now we're looking at Omega and Okada are on the apron with the Japanese table, which is thicker and harder to break than the American tables, outside the ring. They're teasing a huge spot through the tables. What did you think of the use of table spots? Were you a big proponent of table spots?
When they meant something. You know what I mean? I don't think they mean anything anymore. I mean, when they meant something, it was a big deal. But I mean, they're so commonplace today, and especially, like, my God, man. I mean, come on Raw, what do you see? 3 times a show, they're clearing the announce table, they're pulling out the monitors. And that's another thing we talk about all the time. The first thing the guys do, see, bro, like, I can't, see, Matt, you literally saw me. You're seeing me.
Yeah, you
I had to turn away.
Yeah.
I turn away from that shit. I can't, that's not fun for me.
A huge back body drop through the Japanese table.
Yeah, I can't, yeah. I've got to turn, my instinct that people watching this, are they going to see this on video?
They're not going to see it on video.
Well, do we have the video? We'll do something with the video.
Sure.
I want people to see. My natural instinct when I saw that was to turn away. That's a natural instinct. I don't want to see a guy get hurt in a fake fight. I don't want to see a guy take risks that he doesn't have to take. I don't enjoy that. That's not enjoyment for me, man. And I'm not going to apologize for that. I'm not going to apologize for not wanting to see people get hurt in an choreographed match, which is supposed to be entertainment. That's not entertaining to me, Matt. Because, I don't want to see Kenny Omega get hurt. Because
it's not Steamboat Savage. They weren't stomping on tables, and they weren't doing.
You know what I remember about Steamboat Savage, and I could be wrong about that. I would love, Matt, to go back and let's see how much time those guys spent outside of the ring.
Right, very little. Yeah.
When I just started working, for an indie a promotion not too long ago, and one of the things, I changed the rules and everything, Matt, and the reason why I did that was to keep the match in the ring. Why? Because you got to pin your opponent in the middle of the ring to win the match. So you should always want your opponent in the ring. That's how you win the match. Okada could do a million things to Omega here outside of the ring. He still has to get him in the ring to win the match.
And the move we're talking about that we saw was a gigantic back body drop through the Japanese table. And now we're looking at Omega prone, Okada having his big moment after delivering a beautiful flying elbow drop. And so I guess for you, you're not able to get to that point where you can suspend disbelief because there's too much to disbelieve.
Matt, that's that table spot we saw right there.
Right.
Kenny Omega should have been dead. Yeah. So that's why, again, I'm sitting here with Meltzer with this 6 stars, whatever this was. Bro, these guys are working their ass off. I mean, like these guys are freaks of nature. To work at this level and put their bodies through what they're putting them through, these guys are freaks of nature. You've got to be a very special individual to be able to do that. With all that being said, Kenny Omega should have been dead when he went through that table. Period.
That's very true.
This match should not still be happening at this point. And already, I'm telling you, we're less than 3 minutes after that spot, and Omega's already back on the offensive.
Right.
No, that's not extending anybody's disbelief. The guy should be dead.
And it's really great because for our Patreon fans who have been appealed to the show, who might not understand where Vince Russo is coming from, to me, this is just a much more in-depth and much more understandable explanation than we've heard before, because it's no disrespect to the guys. You're just saying it's not believable. It hurts the guys. And you're respecting. I mean, these guys are working their asses off.
Now keep it. Okay, look at Omega. He's going to the third rope. The guy just went through a table and was dead on the outside. That's what I'm talking. Now, like I said, Matt, they're working their freaking asses off, bro. Like, my God, like I can't. You know, a lot of this is pure adrenaline because their bodies have to be killing them. I mean, you know it, and I respect the shit out of that, bro, because very few people can do what they're doing. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, as a wrestling fan, I want to believe this is really happening. I can't believe that. They've taken me out of the game too many times.
Oh, my goodness. We have a dragon suplex from the top rope. Now, I know you got something to say about that.
Do you see, Matt, the way the neck and the top of the back, the impact on the mat? Matt, do you understand 1 millisecond of a millisecond inch off and somebody's paralyzed? Why would you take that chance? I don't understand. Look. Did you see that?
I can't disagree with you.
That's what I'm saying. That's why how can anybody watch? How can anybody see that last move in slow-mo and enjoy that when you literally could have saw somebody be paralyzed? That's not fun for me, man.
You know, you have to suspend disbelief enough to believe that these guys can't actually get hurt, and that is, that it was a top rope dragon suplex, which is a full Nelson suplex, and what we saw was Okada basically breaking the fall with his head from the top rope.
I mean, Matt, I can't, and like I said, bro, hate me all day, talk shit about me all day, criticize me all day, say whatever the frig you want about me. I don't tune into professional wrestling to see people get hurt, and I never will, bro.
Now, this is something to keep an eye for.
God, bro, they screw around with that neck so much, Matt. Matt, can I tell you what's going to happen? Because I've been saying this for decades. I'm telling you, Matt, remember with all the chair shots, all of a sudden the NFL and CTE comes into play and this and that, and then the WWE turns around and goes, well, maybe we shouldn't hit people over the chairs with the heads anymore.
Right.
Let me tell you what's going to happen. One of these guys, and I'm telling you, bro, it's going to be a top guy. They're going to get paralyzed during a match. They're going to get crippled. They're going to be in a wheelchair. Okay, hopefully it's not a death. They're going to be crippled. They're going to be in a wheelchair, and then all of a sudden it's going to be. Hold on for a second. Maybe we need to look at the way we work. That's exactly what's going to happen. Unfortunately, somebody is going to wind up paralyzed before it does. Now, and I guarantee you that, bro, that is going to happen. We saw a guy in Japan not too long ago break his neck.
Yeah,
Takahashi.
Takahashi neck was broken in a match with Dragon Lee. When Dragon Lee went for it's like a dragon plex or something he calls it, but it's a move where I can't see a possible good ending coming from. It's just basically landing on your head.
It was so violent, Matt. So violent and so quick. Oh my God, bro. The way, bro, Matt, I got to tell you something. With everything we know about the head and concussions and CTE, and with everything we know, they screw around with the head and the neck so freaking much, man. God, man.
So it's weird to go from talking about paralyzing to drop kicks, but we did kind of talk over what's one of Okada's signature moves, just that beautiful drop kick, and they're teasing the finishers. Now, this is his finisher. That's called the Rainmaker. It's a short arm clothesline. And of course, as you're about to see,
now how could that be his finisher with everything else he did in this match?
Well, I think we can, take a lot of it back. Well, that's a good question, actually. That's.
I mean, that was so like on a scale of 1 to 10 of what I've seen him do in this match. That was a 1. Like that's what he's going to use to beat somebody after everything that he did.
Right.
And Matt, I don't dislike either one of these guys. As a matter of fact, it's the complete opposite. If I dislike them, I'd want them to get hurt. It's the complete opposite, bro. Like, guys, like, freaking take it easy, man.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, that the finisher is basically a clothesline, and we're seeing the whole kitchen sink being thrown at these guys.
And how is it a finisher if it didn't finish him?
Yeah, and that's what I thought the point you're making was before, and that's kind of a thing. It's, the point of diminishing returns with the table spots and now finishers. And I think we saw it, with Rock Austin a while ago, where they started kicking out of each other's finishers. And now it's basically a thing where a finisher, it's not Mr. Wonderful's pile driver anymore. It's you have to do it like 3 or 4 times.
Right. Now, I got to tell you, Matt, listen, this isn't dragging. It's keeping my attention, the pace of it and all that stuff, keeping my attention. It's not dragging on. I just checked the time, and there's only about like 10 minutes left. And that all that is good, but I would never tune into this because I don't want to see anybody get hurt.
So,
but Bubba told me, I was on Bubba's show the other day, busted open.
Sure.
And I'm in my very desk here, and Bubba sees all my albums behind me. And Bubba knows me. And he goes, bro, you got everything in that freaking library from the mamas and the papas to Kiss. And he's right. I'm a big mama and papa mark, by the way.
Oh, they're great. Yeah.
Yeah. And so he goes to me, you got everything behind me. He goes, Vince, you have to open up your palette. You have to open up your view to different styles of wrestling. And I said, Bubba, I do. I'm all for that. I don't want to see anybody get hurt.
Right.
It's that simple, bro. I don't want to see anybody get hurt. It's not a matter of not. Again, bro, it looked like he just dropped him on his freaking neck. It's not a matter of not wanting to open myself up to this. I don't want to see guys get hurt.
So for us fans, we're almost suspending disbelief to the point where we don't think, where we think, wow, this is part of the show. But from your viewpoint, it's basically Russian roulette.
Great point, Matt. And I've never used that term before. Matt, it is Russian roulette, and Matt, one of the chambers is going to be loaded with a bullet, and we've seen it. I mean, we've seen it. It has happened. We've seen it.
Now we've seen Okada's Rainmaker one time. We've seen Omega tease the one-winged angel, and now we're kind of at the point of the match where, if you're a fan of this kind of match, and you're suspending your disbelief, you're really looking to see who can eke out the victory. For yourself, though, there would be...
And this is what I hate so much, because they're doing all these high-impact maneuvers and this and that, and now we're going to be on our knees.
Exchanging.
And we're literally going to let the guy hit us. And our arms are going to be at our side. Now it's your turn to hit me. Now, I mean, that's what I mean, bro. It's like, guys, what is it? Is it fake, unbelievable fighting, or is it a match where we're going to see who kills themselves first? Like, what is it? Like, what exactly is it? How can you do all this shit where it looks like you're going to break your neck? Next thing you know, you're both on your knees, your hands are at your side, and you're punching each other without trying to protect yourself.
What a great shot of the announcers with their mouths agape at this match. Oh, quick. And to explain what... And then that knee. What you're saying earlier, I heard your good buddy Brian Alvarez talking about this the other day, that it's kind of a Japanese tradition where you allow yourself to get hit to see if you're tough, like in the match.
No, and that is true. I mean, I'm, Big Vito Lagrasso does one of my shows with me over there on Realm, and Vito wrestled in Japan. That's part of it. I mean, back then that was part of it. That was part of the tradition back then. I don't know if that's still part of the tradition today.
I'm still not sure how they hit and elbow each other without hurting each other. Like, it just appears to me that they're just really hitting each other. And there's another Rainmaker, short arm clothesline. It appears to me when they're doing these blows with their elbows and their forearms, either they're just, the greatest workers in the world, like Ric Flair, who can punch you without touching you, or, they're really hitting each other.
They have to be really hitting each other, Matt, because so much of this stuff, bro, you know what I noticed that is so different with this style and a wrestling style? It's so quick.
Oh, yeah.
It's so quick. And Matt, what that's telling me is, and I've talked about this with Disco and Stevie and wrestlers, when it is so quick, bro, it is giving the person on the receiving end, it is giving them less time to react. It is giving themselves less time to get their body in the proper position to take what is about to be delivered. And that's what it is. It's the quickness, bro, that really isn't giving you the time to set your body and take whatever's going to be bestowed upon you correctly, because there's just no time for it. It's boom, 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 boom. This shit comes out of nowhere, and you can't brace yourself, get yourself in the right position for it to be fail-proof and safe.
And as we see, Okada hit a third Rainmaker, and it's just nonstop. But to go to your point, of it being so quick, it makes your point, because that's exactly what happened to Liv Morgan, was that it was Brie was going so quickly.
Yep.
And that's called the V trigger. It's a move that Seth Rollins now does, which is basically wrapping the arm around, pulling them, and kneeing them in the face.
I mean, come on. I mean, Matt, let's face it. He would never say it because he's the nicest guy in the freaking world. Freaking Seth Rollins ended Sting's career in one match. He freaking ended Sting's career in one match by not only being careless, bro, not having the mind to understand this is a man in his late 50s.
Now, here we go. This is the fourth clothesline after a spinning tombstone, and that is your match. Yeah, I was there for the Sting match, and that was it was brutal. It was brutal.
Yeah. But see, that's what I'm saying, Matt. He's got to know, bro. Matt, Let's talk about. Can we pause this now?
Sure, we can. So we just watched there's women crying in the audience. Do you want to see the last couple minutes and see how they
let's stay with it. Let's see the
close out. And the fans are responding, in a very positive way to this match. I think the idea of the match was to highlight both of them, in a kind of a mutual respect thing.
Bro, how funny is that? These guys, bro, come on! What these guys just freaking went through, and what these guys just put their bodies through. The guy throws an ice bag in the ring, bro.
Right? Yeah. Hey, I know you just took, a dragon suplex from the top rope, but
bro, if I'm Kenny Omega, I'm saying an ice bag, bro.
All right, I always get on you and say that people don't think it's real, but the women.
Is that Rick Steiner?
No, that's I'm actually not sure who that is. But the women in the audience definitely feel it's real, because they are crying in the audience.
Now, like I said, bro, what they just did, the fact that Okada is standing in the ring, that's freakish. That's freakish. They're freaks of nature. They're special people. They're special individuals. Bro, I want them to be special people and special individuals for a long time.
Yeah.
That's what I want. That's why it's very difficult for me to watch this.
And that's a fair point to make, and I think it's something that gets lost because it gets kind of wrapped up in the whole Vince Russo hate thing that, oh, here's another thing that Vince Russo's saying. And you can see, Okada, as you can just see on his face, he just went through hell. And we just finished the match. Let me ask you this, as we close out the window, was there anything that surprised you about that match at all? Anything that you were surprised by?
I mean, not really, bro, because every time I tune on New Japan, that's what I see.
Right.
They're really, nothing. I know how hard they work. I know the pace. I know the risk. I know the no selling spots when they should be dead. No, really, no. Like I said, listen, man, I don't know what Meltzer's 6-star rating is. If he's rating this on effort, bro, if he's rating it on effort, strictly effort, what did these guys do in 55 minutes? It's a 10. It's an absolute 10. But, bro, when you're rating a match and a guy takes a spot like that where he goes through the table and he should be absolutely dead, and 3 minutes later he's on the offensive, that's not believable. So with that being said, I'd have to think with Dave Meltzer's star system, believability is not measured. I would have to believe that because that was unbelievable. That would have never happened. Now, if you're telling me, bro, their performance was 6 stars, yes, I will agree with that. But if we're talking about a wrestling match, a classic, a greatest match of all time, Dave, somebody needs to put you through a table and we need to see how quickly you get up.
Right. So, that's a great point. And I think it's something, it's almost a pull away from the quote of the show is that with the star system, believability isn't factored in. And if it goes to effort, if it goes to performance, you can see it. So, that being said, why do you think this kind of match appeals to a Dave Meltzer who's been watching wrestling for so long and covered it so long and written probably more words about professional wrestling than anybody in the history of the world? What is it about this match?
I don't know. I don't know how this could appeal to anybody with the odds of people getting seriously injured. I really don't, bro. I really don't. It doesn't matter if it's Dave. It doesn't matter who it is. Every single one of these matches I watch, I think somebody is going to break their neck. I don't know how that could be enjoyable to anybody, bro. I really don't. I don't know. Matt, here's the thing. Maybe this has a lot to do with Meltzer not being in the wrestling business. Right. When I say that, these guys can't understand Meltzer and Keller and all these guys. Why did we have to be in the wrestling business? Let me tell you exactly right now, Matt, because a lot of reason why I feel the way I do is I know for a fact, Matt, I've seen it. Matt, I saw it with Shawn Michaels. Arguably one of the greatest of all time. Even though Meltzer actually said Shawn Michaels was not in the top 30 of all-time wrestlers. Can you imagine that? Wow. This is but I've seen this happen with Shawn Michaels. And this is what these guys have not experienced because they weren't in the business. They weren't in my position. Matt, when you get injured or you've had your run or whatever the case may be, okay, bro? When you can't go anymore, whether it be injury, whatever, bro, they kick you so fast to the curb and they bring in the next guy. It's like cattle, bro. They don't give a shit. I've seen it time and time and time again. I saw it with Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels, when the WWE was down in the mid-90s, bro, I was writing for Shawn Michaels. I wasn't writing the show. I was writing for Shawn Michaels. I was doing every promo with Shawn Michaels on the teleprompter. I was doing everything for Shawn when he was the champ, and he was having programs with Vader and Sid, and he was carrying the company on his back, and the company was dead. Shawn made every appearance, every house show, every town, bro. I was there. I witnessed this. As soon as Austin got hot, Vince McMahon kicked Shawn Michaels to the curb like he was yesterday's garbage. That's how the heat between Vince and Shawn generated. Okay? And bro, I'll be honest with you. I don't know if that didn't have to do with Shawn's pill problem at the time.
Right.
He was kicked to the curb like yesterday's garbage, and Shawn knew it. So I've seen time and time and time again, when the WWE is done with guys, bro, you're yesterday's news. Thank you very much. Thank you for your contributions. Now we're going on to the next guy. That's what I don't want that to happen to these guys. I don't want Kenny Omega to all of a sudden get hurt, and now everybody has forgotten Kenny Omega. And now Kenny Omega, even though I'm sure he has saved his money and I'm sure he's got a healthy bank account, Kenny Omega's got to sit there and start worrying about, oh my God, I'm a wrestler. Like, what am I going to do, like, with the rest of my life? Like, where am I going to go? How am I going to support the family? Those are the things I look at, because I know wrestling is a ruthless business, bro. It's not all fun and games.
And the way you tie that into what we just watched with Okada Omega is that you saw a lot of risk. You saw a lot of potential for injury. You saw a lot of, like we said, Russian roulette with guys possibly could be getting hurt, whether the dragon suplex off the top rope or the big table spots. And the fact that the wrestling business isn't going to take care of you if you get hurt.
Bingo. It's not, bro. It is not. I've been there. I've seen it. I've experienced it. And it's heartbreaking, Matt. It's freak. Look at me, bro. Look at me. When Vince McMahon was done with me, not only are we going to kick this Italian to the curb, we're going to discredit him. We're going to bury him. We're going to drag him through the mud on our TV show, and we're going to make sure that people know he had absolutely nothing to do with our success. That's the wrestling business, bro. That's how they are. But you know what's starting to happen, Matt, that I'm really happy about?
What's that?
There is a brotherhood, obviously, in wrestling. Now, Matt, I know of very few veterans, very few superstars, very few legends, very few that agree with this type of product and that are fans of this type of product. But, Matt, because of the brotherhood, they're not going to say anything. They're it's like the mafia gimmick. They're not going to say anything. And bro, on top of that, Triple H has a lot to do with the WWE. So if you say something about style or, no characters or no storyline, well, that's Triple H. He's got a lot to do with that. But bro, in the last week, you're starting to see guys like Taker and guys like Kevin Nash saying, This isn't wrestling. Like this, it's not about the moves. And bro, I guarantee you take a guy like Taker, you take a guy like Nash, they're looking at the same thing I'm looking at, and they're thinking the same thing I'm thinking. They're saying, we made millions and millions and millions of dollars in this business. We did not go out there and kill ourselves. Right. Like why are you guys doing this? We proved you can make millions of dollars. You could have a long, long, long career. You don't have to do this. And I like the fact that now you finally got the big guns coming out and saying, guys, like, what is the point of this?
That's a great point, and that's something that we can answer, and it's actually pretty well put, and you make a strong case for it. Now, this was a Patreon exclusive watch along with Vince Russo, and we're going to try to do something fun every week, and I think in a lot of ways this was fun. So just to kind of wrap up, we just watched Okada Omega. You were pretty in awe of their effort and also their performance. You have found that maybe in the Meltzer star rating, that believability isn't really factored in, but mainly your biggest takeaway from it is your concern for the safety of the wrestlers and them exposing themselves to possible neck and head injuries.
Especially, Matt, when there's no reason to.
And when you say there's no reason to, you think a match like this. Well, when you say there's no reason to, you're saying that you could have just as memorable a moment, draw just as much money without potentially injuring yourself.
Matt, this is the style at the WWE. Let's break, Matt. You're gonna find one thing with me: logic, bro. Let's get down to bad tax. Let's get down to logic. Okay, this is the style that has taken over the WWE. Okay, without a shadow of a doubt. The Finn Balor's, the Kevin Owens, the Sami Zayn's, this is the style that has taken over. The Seth Rollins, I can go on and on and on. Okay? Bro, this past Monday night was the lowest rating in the history of Monday Night Raw. What is it achieving? What now, Matt, you got to understand something. If the numbers are going the other way, and more people are watching this, I don't know what I'm talking about. At that point, I am irrelevant. I am out of touch because it's like, bro, everybody else is liking this and digging this except you. That's not what the numbers are dictating. The numbers are dictating. Look at them, bro. Less and less people are watching the show. So think about it logically, Matt. You're going out there and you're killing yourself with stuff that is not necessary, stuff that is very dangerous. We saw the live gimmick, just 2 weeks ago, and your numbers for your viewing audience continues to go down. If they were going up, it's one thing. That's not what's happening. So when you look at those two things together, how do you not sit here and say, guys, what's the point? I don't understand that the numbers are going down with this style and what you're doing, but yet we continue to do it. What is the point?
That's what
I said this, Matt. Matt, do you remember a couple of months ago? Who did Owens have the cage match with? Was it Braun Strowman?
Braun Strowman, right.
When Owens took the bump off the top of the... Okay, now,
I wasn't
Matt,
a fan of that.
Okay, Matt, let me tell you something. Can I tell you something that's real simple? Okay, bro.
Sure.
I'm the Antichrist of professional wrestling. I like to break things down for you that are real freaking simple, bro. Okay, real simple. I don't know Kevin Owens. I'm not a fan of Kevin Owens, the character. Kevin Owens, the man, seems like a really good guy. Seems like a good husband. Everything I've seen, he loves his kids. I don't know the man. When I talk about Kevin Owens, I'm talking about the character.
Sure.
Okay? When Kevin Owens is at the top of that stage with Braun Strowman, right? And he's looking down and he knows the spot and he knows what he's about to do. And in his mind, he also knows I have a wife and 2 kids that are at home depending on me. And he's looking at that spot. I want Kevin Owens to ask himself one question, and I want to know the answer to that question. When Kevin Owens is on that spot at that moment and he's looking down and he's thinking about his family, and he asks himself, what is the point? What's the answer to that question? What is the answer to that question? I say that every time I watch wrestling and I see something that can be an injury, career-ending, life-threatening, when I see something that dangerous, I always say, if the performer would ask himself, what is the point? What is the answer to that question?
That's a great question. I guess the answer would be, making a living. I mean, would you disagree with that?
I would definitely disagree with that because nobody's career would be in jeopardy by not taking that type of a spot.
So you think they have the freedom in today's environment to to opt out of a spot like that?
Absolutely. I could tell you without a without a shadow of, I don't know how things run today, Matt.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not like Alvarez and Melcher. I don't have access to WWE locker rooms.
Right.
So I'm here telling you, I don't know how things work today. I can tell you In the time I worked with Vince McMahon, and bro, I was connected to Vince's hip. I was, Matt. During that time, nobody was ever punished for not doing anything that they were uncomfortable with. That included in the ring, that included as a character, that included a promo, that included a storyline. Nobody was ever punished when they said, I got a little bit of an issue with this. I feel uncomfortable with this, and this is why. I can tell you, during my time there, that never happened. That never happened my time at WCW. That never happened my time at TNA. Now, what other people did and how other people conducted themselves in that spot, I can't tell you. But I could tell you, while I was there, that's not how the company was run.
Well, that is a solid point, and that's something for everybody to think about too. You know, if that environment exists today. Now, of course, we're running into a problem here because it appears Vince Russo and Matt Kuhn can talk forever. We're going to wrap this up, but I do want to wrap up with one final question. Let's say you talked to somebody today. You talked to one of your friends tonight, a wrestling fan, and you said, "I saw Okada Omega." The 6-star match today, the one that Meltzer at the time said was the greatest match he ever saw, and you had to kind of describe it to them in a minute or so. How would you describe the match that we just saw?
I would describe the match as the effort put into this match and the commitment to this match was unfreaking believable. And you've got to respect the athletes for that kind of a commitment. On the other side of that coin, I did not believe the match. There was no sense of reality. There was no suspension of disbelief. It was high spots. It was Circus Soleil, and I literally felt like at any moment somebody's livelihood could have come to an end, and that made me feel very uncomfortable. And because of that, I am not a fan of that style.
Well, that was very well put, and we appreciate your time. Of course, this is Vince Russo's Truth with Consequences, and this is a Patreon exclusive, and we're going to see you guys next time. Thanks for being a Patreon member. We're going to have lots of stuff coming up, the stuff you see on the list, but also some extras now and then. Vince, anything you want to say to our initial Patreon fans?
I want to say this, Matt. This is why I constantly tell those guys who are fans of this style to come on my show. If Dave Meltzer came on my show, our show, met me face to face, and I said to Dave Meltzer exactly what I just said to you, what would he say to me? No, Vince, there's no chance of anybody being hurt. I want to know what he would say to me. That's why I asked them to come on my show. I'm not going to degrade them. I'm not going to make fun of them. I'm not going to do that. I've made that clear. I'm not. It's documented right now. This is my word. Anybody can play this back and say, "Hey, Russo says if these wrestling, smarts come on his show, he's not going to insult them. He's not going to talk down to them. He's not going to embarrass them. He's not going to cut promos." He's saying that. We got documentation. If I go back on my word, I'm a liar. I honestly want to know, when I present this case to Dave Meltzer, what you and I just talked about, I want to hear his reaction.
It's a fair point, and hopefully for listeners of Truth with Consequences, one day we will get to that point. That day may not be today, but hopefully it comes soon. Vince, thank you so much for your time today, and I think this is going to be an awesome thing for Vince Russo fans and Truth with Consequences fans to listen to.
Yeah, no, I thought that was a lot of fun, Matt, and I really, really do appreciate it, man.